That's what makes you an expert.
That's right. My reading skills are still good.
See you.
Did you say you saw Thomas up there? You got a text from him, didn't you?
Says, sorry guys, maybe several minutes, but I mean, we can go ahead and get started. We can just get caught up.
Yeah.
Is that okay with everybody? Guess we're live.
We are.
So,
Oh, yes, please bring samples.
I don't know if y'all elected a vice chair. or
We
not.
didn't. Donnie, you want to carry the meeting?
I'll let you go with it.
Okay. All right, y'all, we're going to call the May 20th Finance Committee meeting to order. Donnie Parsley is here and I am here. Thomas Crossan will be here shortly. And Alderman Threet is a guest today. I guess we'll approve the minutes. Does anybody have anything to say about the minutes from last month? If not,
I'll make a motion, we approve it.
I'd second it, so we're both in agreement. So, we got to approve the agenda. I skipped over that, didn't I? Is everybody okay with the way the agenda's made? Any additions or subtractions? All right, I guess we're all good with that. Is there any public comments? Is there any public? Okay, so there's no public comments. Let's start with the Manchester City Conference Center building maintenance. Mayor, you probably in on this.
Yeah, so we met with Mayor Hunt, since that both parties own the building. And there was a list provided from the conference center. It's air conditioners, the parking lot, ADA compliant doors that just open automatically at the front. From that meeting, we all agreed that, you know, per the deal we have, that 50% is our responsibility, 50% is the county. County budget and finance, I want to think approved a little over $100,000 for repairs. We reached out to Mayor Hunt today and I didn't get an answer back if the full commission had approved those repairs, and it's an up to number. And somehow, I got the pleasure of being the one that collected quotes before we could run them for bids in the paper. And so far, we're waiting on the heating and air estimates. But for the ADA compliant door, it's about $8,400. Thomas, we're just getting started. Good timing.
I apologize.
To reseal the parking lot, paint all the new lines, and fill in the cracks, handicap, fire lanes, etc. That's about $27,171.20. And then there
What
was
was that
also
number, John? I'm sorry.
$27,171.20. And then, like I said, these are just preliminary quotes. We'll run them all again so that we just doing it for our part. Right now, there's 3 units that are totally out. There's a total of 7 that have been with the building since it was built. So we're getting a quote just to replace all 7 units. Is what we have on our minds. The other thing that we had a conversation about was painting the poles while we're doing the parking lot. It was $8,900 was a quote. And then part of the parking lot issues that they've had in the past is there's no gates. So big trucks and everybody just use the parking lot. So we got a price to put up 3 gates that they could lock when they're not there. And that came back at $6,700. So all of that together is probably right around $50,000. So we split 50-50, and then we're waiting on the air conditioning unit. So probably we're gonna get out less than $100,000 once we get everything, and we'll bring it back to finance. I just needed everybody to know that that's what's been asked, in the process we're going through. Regardless of how it turns out, it's our building, it's an asset, and we committed when we signed the deal to take care of major repairs.
Okay. Joey, would you mind, I'm sorry, Tom.
No, go ahead.
But would you go over basically what our plans is as far as utilizing the building?
So, yes, and that's, okay, so that's number 6 on the agenda. So what we have in the budget, and what we'll present, again, based on you guys' recommendation, is for the conference center to become a city department, okay? It would roll up under tourism, so only the hotel motel tax is spent in the operations of the conference center. And that's a line item that's in your budget now of $945,000 is the projected revenue of the hotel motel tax. Now, the way the contract's written, if we don't lease the operations through the PBA at the current moment, if operations cease to exist, the building per the contract is to be sold to the county and the city. That's
Immediately,
yeah,
correct.
that's the contract.
Okay.
So what we've done is we put together a plan to keep operations. We would, like I said, lease it from the PBA until we go back to the county and redo the agreement so that.
Brings us back to the table.
And it removes the PBA. So right now, if you guys agree to let the city run the operations, the PBA would be a committee without a home, so to speak. They have no say in the operation side of the business, okay? And there again, once we can negotiate that with the county, that would remove and we would dissolve the PBA as a long-term strategy, okay? But if you don't keep it operational, you actually hurt their business. I mean, that's what it's all about. If you have a druther and you think that the city can operate it better than it's been being operated, then that's the plan that I set forward, okay? But you can't take time off while we work it out with the county. So we're at a hard date. So that's what we have. And then in the budget, we've asked for funding for 6 months to give us time to get our feet wet, to come back and lay out a long-term plan to budget and finance into the board.
Okay, it's through my understanding
Yes, sir.
that we have some contracts that is to be fulfilled through the PBA through 27.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Do we have any paperwork on any of that?
so the answer to that is right now it's all under the PBA, okay? We put together a transition team in hopes that that's the way we're going. And part of the request has been is what are the contracts and what are our obligations? And they would come under to the city, right? Anything that's forward, the only thing that you have on the table with those contracts would be is if they took any deposits. Otherwise, you can dissolve the contract.
So we don't know if they have or not.
I think they have, and they would actually give the city those deposits to the city through the PBA.
Thomas, does that show on their audit that money is?
No, that's not on their P and L.
Well,
Okay, so really that money doesn't exist.
No, no, wait a minute, there's a section, and Tom's, I don't mean to cut you off. There's a section at the bottom of the P and L that has income, and it's hidden there. It's not broken out, and I've asked for the number, okay?
Yeah, let me answer the question better. We know that there is X amount of money. We don't know how it applies to certain deposits or not.
Yes, yeah. So, I mean, and so we just give them May's allotment from the 350 on the budget this year. There's still June that we would owe, just and we would work through a lot of those type of things with the June monies.
Right, but to cut it short,
Yeah.
the 175,000
Mhm.
was funded through December 31st.
Correct.
And then there's no more money that would be available.
Then we would be back at budget and finance, laying out the rest of the year's plan as a city department and operate it. And then you make another business decision. If it's not turned around to where you think that we're headed in the right direction with labor and costs and things, to where it's close to break even, then we would have that conversation, absolutely. But I mean, the complaints since I've been an alderman and now mayor are pretty simple. Nobody's excited to turn over $350,000 and get no say in how things are
Correct.
going.
Absolutely.
So we have put together a plan to where the city runs it as another department and has all the say in how the money is spent for the taxpayer. That whether it be salary, overtime, the venue itself, and the fees, that would all come back to the board.
And that money would be hotel motel tax.
It's all hotel motel tax. It's no local sales tax, state tax, no property tax. This is all the funds that we collect through hotel motel tax. And that's why we took them this year in the budget and segregated them out of the general fund and everything else, and we put them right where they go, which is tourism. Now, tourism dollars can only be spent on tourism type funding, right? You can't go out here and buy Public Works a new truck or you can't interchange the tax.
Yes, I realize that. I realize that.
So all the 945,000 has to be spent on tourism.
Correct. Or it stays in, like we do with the general fund, it rolls over year. You know, the county, when I was a county commissioner, they passed the tax the same way. And right now, their tax that they're collecting is rolling over and it's accumulating. And the only real place I think they have to spend theirs today is at the industrial board, right? It's Economic Growth and Development Board is where that money's being spent.
Okay.
Did I answer that okay, or?
Mr. Street, do you have any questions?
Sure.
Well, I'm not a member of this committee.
You
Go
don't
ahead,
have to
go
be.
ahead.
You're on
Go
the
ahead,
board.
Chair.
You're going to vote.
I guess I'm the only person, I believe I'm right, I'm the only person on this board that voted to build that place in 2001. Somebody can correct me, but I believe I'm right. And I was wrong about it. I'll stand corrected on it. I don't think it's gonna make it, but that's, it's had, I guess, 23 years, and it's in a different category from the rec center in my estimation, because so many people use the rec center of all ages. The conference center is just in a different category. But I mean, I only have one vote, and I don't want to see people out there lose their job. I just don't like that thought. I guess those are two competing ideas that I don't think it can stay open and operate, but I don't want people to lose the job. But there's probably a solution in between the two. I don't really know what it is right now exactly, but
I mean, what is it that you're unhappy about? Is it the funding? I mean, what
Well,
is it that you don't think they can make it on?
I'm
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt y'all, but with our 6 months worth of money that we've got here, is it gonna continue with a full-time staff that's running everything now, or is somebody gonna adjust it to work? I mean, if it's not needed for someone to be there every day, it don't need to be there.
I mean, listen, that's our goals, is taking over the operation, right? Just like we did at the rec center. I mean, we cut out a lot of labor out of the budget for the rec center this year too, right? Because the income isn't paying for what we're asking. So this is the first time since I've been in politics that an actual governing body gets the opportunity to operate it. You know, when you first guys built it, right, you had to deal with the city and the county, and the deal said, no matter what they lose a year, both entities will pay the difference, right? And there were some years it was $800,000, $400 for each
Yeah,
side,
yeah.
okay? And then you go fast forward to 20 years after you pay the building off, right? Paid the building off, there's no debt on the building. Then the county says, listen, I'm not gonna renew the contract. The city says, I want it. Well, at that time, the way it was set up, you put a PBA in between you again. And in the defense of the conference center, okay, you go from an $800,000 loss down to $350, so it's moving in the right direction. Whether you want to say yes or no about the money, but it has moved its operation in the right direction. Now we just gotta push it over the rest of it to where there's a number that everybody feels comfortable with that we spend down there. I mean, do I foresee it breaking even? At some point in time, I do, but it's gonna take the changes that you're just sitting there discussing, right? How we manage the labor and the rest of the expectations of it will be up to the board at that point. Be the first time that I can think of that you have say in actually how it's going to be operated. We've never had that before. We give a donation, we give our money to them.
I agree, and we have no input.
We had no input. Now you get all the input, just like any other department within the city. That's the proposal, right? I mean, like I said, I feel that the center, the building, it is an asset to the community. It may not be an asset like the rec center to where the average person goes out there and gives you X amount of money and uses it. But there's a lot of businesses in town, there's a lot of meetings and different things that people use that because there's nowhere else for 350 people to gather.
There's a lot of people, a lot of businesses look about coming here. And that's one of the assets they look, is having that here for them to use. It's a good thing just to draw business, if nothing else.
I'd have a really hard time seeing that, Mark.
Do you think their events contribute to the hotel motel tax at all?
They may marginally, I don't know, I guess you could calculate how many hotel nights are rented. I wouldn't think it'd be much.
Well, today, that figure that we as a board have put on it is the economic value that everybody talks about that's non-tangible. We put that mark at $350,000 because that's what we decided to donate.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm not saying that it pays itself that back, but that's the number we put on it today.
The hotel tax is roughly $1 million for the city. The conference center contributes 30% of that? Is that the argument that they contribute 300 and some thousand because people stay here?
That's what we've decided.
Between sales tax for people that stay here, go and eat, and between the hotel motel tax, we as a board put the number at 350 because that's what we've been donating. Now,
Look, I don't disagree that we've been donating it, but I'd have a hard time seeing that the conference center generated anything like that in hotel tax. I mean, that would take quite a few people staying for several nights to generate a third, and eating sales tax. Why are they here? What business draws them here to use the conference center? What kind of numbers would we have?
I mean, the event venues that I'm aware of are either weddings, where people do come here and stay, right? I mean, they have different companies, right? As far as, I mean, where I used to work, We brought people in from out of town to our Christmas party, and they stayed the night here.
But was it, I don't know, 10 or 20 or 100?
I mean, when I did it, it was about 25 hotel rooms, and we spent about $40,000 on the night out there.
Well, the good thing,
$40,000 in a night?
Sure did.
The
We
good
fed
part.
350 people and everything, that's about what our bill was.
the good thing is that if we do what we're planning on doing, we can quit talking about $350,000 a year. You know? I mean, we're gonna have to for 6 months at least until we get things ironed out, worked out. But after that, Thomas, you said you thought it could even make money.
I think it can make money. Looking at the P&L, just being frank, and I couldn't agree with you more, it's a different conversation than the rec center. But being frank, I think it's been an operational black hole. Now, I don't think that anybody in this conversation has ever seen the thing run with proper oversight. So I don't know that, even though my point is counter to yours, James, I don't know that either one of us can make it fairly, because we've never seen it run with good operational oversight.
Is there someone out there that you got in mind that has that capability?
I think it just starts inside the city and we start plugging things away. There are some numbers inside the P&L that are quick wins. And when you look at the revenue number versus the cost of goods sold versus the operational dollars, it's out of whack. And I think that can be reeled back in pretty quickly.
And just off the top, right, there's about $50,000 in services that they're having to pay for, be it financially or whatever, that would come back to the city. So, I mean, you could argue that you could take $50,000 off the top just by it coming into a city department. I mean, they're paying everything as an independent business, so. But there again, I mean, the intent of what we put together, right, is to give us that operational control to see if it's worth being a viable deal or not. And if it's not, then you know how to fix that, right? That's the whole conversation about it.
Well, I mean, at this point right
I
here.
don't know that we can fix, the county fixed, they got out of it, but I don't know politically that it's very, very difficult to end a government anything. I mean, it's almost impossible to end a government something. In here, in Washington, you just got too much constituency. It doesn't make any difference what it does or does, you know, it's just, that's not relevant. It builds up a life of its own, and, I mean, this country's really in that shape. You can't do anything about it. This country's probably headed to bankruptcy in a quick fashion. But,
Well, the city's not, I can assure you.
well, the city maybe, unless, I mean, if the government bond market collapses, the city will, if the U.S. government debt market collapses, then the city will just be a very tiny speck. But yeah, I don't disagree. This city is not in a bad shape. I don't disagree with that. But anyway.
I can tell you one thing, and if I live, I got one more vote on a budget next year. And if we can't turn this around, I'll be the first one to step up and vote no and shut it down.
Yeah.
You can take that to the bank.
And, you know,
Would that be in 6 months from now, Mark?
That'd be in a year from now, when we vote on next year's budget.
But 6 months from now, the
6
conversation.
months from now, they're not gonna have no budget.
The
Well, that's
conversation
true.
will start in this room
Yeah.
6 months from now on this
We'll
board.
decide what, yeah.
And, I mean,
I mean, for more funding, they would have to have a budget amendment. so you
Yeah.
will get the chance to vote in
Yeah.
6
Yeah,
months.
but we've been there, Joe, we've been there. over
You
the
should
budget.
see some improvement though.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, I
should
mean-
see a considerable amount of improvement in 6 months' time.
I mean, you know, the basic conversation comes to, do you want to operate it or not? I mean, you know, you've never had a shot. All we do is talk about, we're unhappy about how the money's being spent and what's going on. Well, now it's time to take ownership and say yes or no, right? I mean, if you don't want the shot, don't take it. If you want the shot, let's take it, right? I feel very confident that we can reduce the ask year over year over year. I do.
Well, you know, let's just participate, let's just anticipate, I might say, that we're sitting here and we do the 175. Okay. We see no changes in 6 months. Okay, PBA's gone, they're out of the picture, okay? At that point right there, explain to me how the contract is with the county. I mean, actually, we're the one doing the funding, we own 50% of it. At that point right there, can the city not use it for different purposes
No,
besides?
no.
That's a big-
The way the contract's written, it can't be.
It has to have events, it has to be an ongoing conference center.
So in other words, it can't be used for nothing else other than.
Well, and that's where we make a decision to enter into something with the county, right? If we have another plan for it, then we have that conversation, see if they're willing to do it as the other 50%.
And then in return, write a new lease.
But the 6 months would buy us time to have that conversation then, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. I mean, this contract was written in what, 2020?
2020, I guess, maybe 2020, I think.
The county puts 100,000, is that the maintenance, is that what they do now?
This is the first time that everybody's been to the table to fix anything there since the agreement was done.
Fix as in maintenance, not
Yeah,
fix. Okay.
and what I mean is like catastrophic things. Air conditioner not working is the
So
building.
we've got 3 out there now that's completely
Yeah.
down.
Yeah. And like I said, you're not ADA compliant, even though the ramps and stuff are in, you can't hit a button and the door's open, so we're gonna put those in. The parking lot, I mean, those are all things that will add to the value of the building long term.
You know, I think everyone sitting in this room here has heard the complaints about the competing with the food
There
services
you go.
here.
Yep.
And is that gonna end if we go with this approach?
What is the complaint? I don't know that I'm familiar.
Well, I mean,
Keeping the
we've got
food
people,
hot.
we got
No.
people in this town that's in the food service business
So,
that complains.
Yes.
yeah, so the complaint is that they're out here bidding against catering jobs that other local caterers would use.
Right.
Right.
I mean,
And
are we
we're-
going to open the door to?
No. If we get operationals, I mean, the early plan is going to operate it as a conference center. We're not gonna be out here bidding on other jobs. We're not going to
No, no.
cater outside of the building.
I mean, but we're not gonna let our people come in. Do-
Yes, I
have
hope
an
so.
op-
No, we are.
Oh, we are gonna let,
Yeah.
We're gonna let local caterers bid on.
If,
There's 2 or 3 models.
yeah.
in other words, I come out there and I say, I want this conference room right here for one day.
Yeah.
And I want lunch to be served. I mean, will I have the opportunity for renting that space to be able to cater my own and bring it in?
So there's a couple models, and the PBA actually had the conversation at their last meeting about this very thing, okay? And part of that model is that you have a contract with 2 or 3 different caterers in town. And you come in to rent a building, you offer out 3 different menus, and they select which one they want to go with.
I got you.
Yes.
So
that's
that is,
absolutely
that
gonna be on
opens the door.
table.
By
Yes.
us going into the,
And it's my hope and my desire that we can shut that kitchen door and weld a steel plate across it so that we don't have to ever set foot in a kitchen at the conference center again. That caterers outside will hopefully have a list, like Joey said, and the business goes to them.
That's some of the operational opportunity there. And it also opens up doors to our local business, operators too.
That's a pretty nice kitchen out there, isn't it?
Everything in there is
I think it was.
23 years old.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
There's been
the
no
last
money
time
put-
I've seen it, that's been a long, it was I guess it has been a long 20, it was a nice commercial kitchen
Yeah.
at one time.
Yeah.
And I mean, and they'll still be able to offer food, I guess, at some point until you get to the point of having the rest of it worked out, right? I mean, you're gonna have to have some agreements with people. You're gonna have to have insurance in place, all kinds of things, and it's gonna take us a little time to get all that ironed out. That's why we're asking for the 6 months, right? The first 2 or 3 months, you're gonna have to bring it in, you're gonna have to figure it out, and you're gonna have to go out and solicit people to do those things, and then put an agreement in place, that way you know what to charge when somebody's asking for an event.
Solicit for caterers to
Yes.
come, yeah. Yeah, I think you'll have some interest in that.
Oh, I do too.
I
Right,
think we
mean,
will too,
yeah.
and
And I mean, and it's just an extra option as somebody's booking an event.
okay, let me just throw this out here. This does not pass. There's no funding. Okay, just goes away. The building is put up for sale and it's sold because it can't be utilized with nothing else.
But we close first, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, but the city voted to bring it back in and give it a 6-month trial. Could you not still, I mean, open the door to someone that's in that particular business itself, as far as the hospitality business, saying, okay, you know, we're open here, and look at someone that would be interested in leasing or buying the building? Does that make
I mean,
sense?
if you're not gonna operate it as a conference center, yeah. I mean, during the 6 months, I mean, the goal would be to make it to where you want it to keep going. I mean,
Well, yeah,
But if-
yes, I understand, I understand that right there. But after this vote right here, and the PBA is probably gonna go away,
we hope, yeah.
okay?
I mean, the PBA voted at their last meeting to sign the operational lease with us. They voted. It's on their table. They voted as a board that they would turn the operations over to the city.
Okay.
So they'll be out, okay? The next phase of that is we've got to, if we do the deal, we start July 1, then we've got to engage the county so that we can actually get a new agreement where the PBA is not involved and we can disband them. But you can't do it all at one time. It's gonna take some time. But their board did vote for the city to take over operations. They'll step aside.
That's with, the PBA did that.
They did. They did at their last meeting. And I believe even Ms. French went on the radio and made the announcement the same, right?
Well, what would happen to the employees though, out there?
Right now, I mean, we would just bring them into the city,
Okay.
right? I mean,
Okay,
we would
well,
hire them as new city employees, yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
really, like I said, those two things may not be reconcilable, but I don't wanna see them lose their job, you know, I
Yeah.
don't.
Well, and I mean, the downside of that is if we don't fund, that's gonna happen pretty quickly.
Well, if we don't fund the conference center, but I really hope there's a way, if that does happen, that we can find, I mean, the city's got, what, 200 employees roughly in that range? Surely we can find, a job for them. It may not be, I just don't like people to, I don't want to be a part of them losing their job.
I think the proposal is the only way that we can provide at least options.
Okay.
I think any other way is pretty dark in that
Well,
regard.
you know, I couldn't tell you how many employees is even out there. I don't even.
That's 20.
23.
Yeah, 23 or 4, something like that.
Now,
That's
this
a
is-
conference center?
Yeah, 20 of them are part-time that they bring in just for events.
Oh,
There's only
okay.
3 full-time
Well, the-
employees
yeah.
right now.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So
yeah,
just-
the
there's only-
part-time people, well, you know,
Yeah.
I wasn't aware there was that many, but I
I wasn't
don't
either.
know.
But hopefully you could lose some of those through attrition as time went on, and you won't have to fire anybody. Everybody can have a job until,
Well, so there's 3 full-time people?
Yes, 3
Okay,
full-time
well,
people.
that's what I was concerned. The part-time people don't have insurance benefits, do they?
Correct. They
Okay.
have no benefits from the city.
Yeah, that's, you know, that's important to people, I know, to keep their health insurance. Well, I understand better what the 175 is intended for, so. I think that's a bridge.
Like I said, I mean, if the city is finding value in keeping it, this is the first chance you get to operate it, and then you get all the decision-making power.
I'll be interested to see what the county will do, if anything. Maybe they'll do, I mean, if you said we're gonna go to them starting after July 1, without the PBA involved, it'll just be the city and the county.
Now, I don't look for them to vote to take on any operational parts
I
of it.
doubt it, yeah.
But I do hope that we can resolve that to where we can disband the PBA, which the language today says that the PBA has to be in place or it's a no-go.
But at that point, they're
And
a
in
non-functioning entity.
Non-functioning.
And in reality, we can't disband the PBA.
Correct.
If-
But that needs to be put out there. That needs to be put out there.
but we don't have to appoint somebody to fill any empty position in PBA either.
No, and I mean, like I said, the long-term goal is to disband them. We just can't be seamless with the operation not closing it the way it's written today. But the long-term goal would be to disband the PBA, but we gotta get the county's blessing.
Well, you know, I go by looking at the numbers right there. And I don't think that's a great, you know, personally, I haven't seen it, but I've heard that the numbers is not great as far as the way it was managed and so forth.
I mean, as
You know.
far as the you know, they generate right at about $800,000 a year in revenue, okay? Not counting the money that we donate, just in events and revenues that they have, in comparison to like the rec center, right? Rec center is only generating $500,000 right now, and they've got some work to do.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Sure.
we've all had that conversation, but just to put it in perspective, I mean, you know, you're talking, we fund the rec center, and yes, there's thousands of citizens and county citizens that use it, 100%, and it's definitely used. But if you look at the conference center from just a financial thing, right? I mean, if you're bringing in that kind of revenues and you can generate another $250,000 in revenue, then there's no need for funding. So there's lots of upsides to getting where we're trying to go, to where they don't actually use very much hotel motel funds and almost can probably be self-sustained in a year's period.
That's where my optimism comes from, because their cost of goods sold are 20% of their revenue, and the rest of it is operational. So there's a big window there to operate in.
And there was some debate at the last PBA meeting about what a full-service conference room, conference center is. And one of the board members, and I can't remember which one, said that you can be a full-service conference center and sub out catering and different aspects of it. Then it becomes a fixed cost for that event, and you know what the numbers end up being. So you can actually do some really good things and control all of the things that we're talking about, be it labor, be it food, within the
You
way
put
that
the
you
numbers
operate.
together.
Yeah. So, but absolutely.
All right, so we're still talking about point number 5.
Well, I think we did 6 too.
Oh, did we do 6 also?
Yeah, we kind of joined those
Join them
together.
together?
Together.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anything else?
Speaking of the rec center, they have memberships, right?
Yes, sir.
Does the county pay an elevated rate as opposed to people that live in the city?
They do today, but the committee is having a conversation that we just charge one rate, right? It was only $10 to $15. It wasn't like a big buffer difference. And we're finding out that really we're kind of at the upper end of the surrounding areas before you put that fee on there.
We're at the upper end.
Yes, sir. Between Tullahoma and some more surrounding areas.
We have a nice rec center.
We do, absolutely.
Does the county put any money in it generally? Just
No.
like none?
But I would venture to say most of the members,
Our county people?
absolutely.
Well, because they've got the numbers. You know, that, we're just always on the short end of it with the county, it appears to me, and they have no interest in the city except when they need to use it to go to Walmart or, you know, I've heard county people say, well, there's nothing in Manchester I need. Well, I guess quit going to Walmart, you know. The city exists more as an economic unit than the county does. You know, it's driven by sales tax, the value of property, where they're not so much. I don't know, there's no solution to it. I understand that, but they've hammered us, and I said that they've really hammered us, I think, at every chance. Along with Tullahoma, maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I think Tullahoma's always got an interest in shorting us, but that's James's perspective. We'll see, I guess, with this super site.
All right, do we have a resolution that we need to consider?
So, yeah, the resolution of the night failed, so we're writing a new resolution, and we're adding the language that the PBA has no operational responsibility inside the resolution. So, we kicked the budget back, the budget finance, right? We haven't changed anything other than, we left it the same as what was presented the other night. And then we'll present a new lease with some dates on it this next time, because we didn't have dates on the lease, which was another issue the PBA had as far as a lease, right? So we're gonna add dates, and it'll be a different resolution and different lease that will come before BOMA, if you guys are gonna push that. If not, need to have a conversation about what we wanna do different so we can present a budget.
Okay, so our first step would be to entertain a motion to present the budget as was presented with the 175 last BOMA meeting with the amended resolution that the mayor spoke of. And I will, would anyone like to make that motion?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll second. And any more discussion? I think we've discussed pretty thoroughly. All right.
I think this has been a pretty productive meeting, because I think it's more understandable than where we were 2 weeks ago.
Well, and I guess I didn't do a good job of explaining parts of it, so, I'm glad that we've had a chance to revisit it, right, and everybody feel good about what's been offered. Okay, so I'll take that.
All right, gentlemen, you want to vote to, again, pass the budget, vote on the motion that was made?
Yeah, let's go ahead and send it to the board.
Mark?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
All right, 3-0. All right.
We signed a sheet for the fireman's appeal, didn't we? Is that today?
It's Thursday.
Is that at 5, that's
Is
5:30?
it 4:30, I believe?
We have a,
5.
we have a 4:30
Yeah.
attorney
Executives.
meeting,
Yeah.
executive meeting.
Attorney meeting at 4:30,
Yeah.
BOMA at 5:30.
No, only at 5. I got it.
Something was 5:30, I guess that's the
Maybe it's
meeting.
5
Maybe
and
it is.
5:30.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I know one of them was at 5:30.
That
The
is
one
Thursday, so we'll get that one
Yeah.
straight.
Okay, so that's Thursday, okay.
All right, very good discussion, gentlemen. All right, item number 7, status of the Economic Development Board.
So I'll start that one. In the budget, we did not fund the Economic Development Board. We kept the $112,000 in the budget, and under the new structure, would like to put it into the tourism side so that we get a firm direction. When I became mayor, I met with those folks. They said that we haven't really ever given them a firm marching order, so to speak, and I told them I didn't have one. So I don't see why we keep funding something that we're not sure what we're asking of them, or are they sure of what they're to be doing? So I wanted to take a moment and reset and come back and figure it out in the new year. So that's
How long have we been funding them?
3 years. Yeah, maybe 4.
4 years.
Okay, and in 4 years, they haven't had,
But now, let's give them a little, they started in right dead center of COVID.
Yeah.
So I mean, there was a year there,
Look, I think they're all willing to work, let's be clear.
Yeah.
But I don't have a direction to give them, nor do I think we as a board have come up with what we've asked of them.
it's, my next question was gonna be, what are we funding for?
They meet once a
I'd be
month.
just happy to not fund them and do away with them. I mean,
Well,
I
that's-
thought we decided that's what we were gonna do.
That's what's in this budget.
Yeah.
Is not funded them,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
So that's the status. I'm gonna present an ordinance at the June meeting to dissolve that, and ask you guys to dissolve it, and it's not funded in the budget, and like I said, we'll put it all back together as we figure out what we're asking of them.
Really, what we were asking of them, the chamber, basically is the same. I mean, the chamber could do everything that we asked that committee to do, I think,
So Mark, you're saying it's basically a duplication?
pretty much. I mean, that's the way I kind of feel.
So, but, does that answer everybody's status type question? I mean, I'm gonna ask it to pass the ordinance to there again, dissolve it. The funding is not in this budget, it's been put back into the bottom line, and I don't know how much everybody's looked at the budget yet, but you know, this budget that's been presented met the needs of all departments. Anthony, you correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think anybody came to us with an ask that we didn't put in the budget.
That's correct.
The only thing that we did a little different in this one is some tweaking of their budgets. We did lower the labor at the rec center because, I mean, like I said, they're just not generating enough funds, and we told them as the funds come back, we will add people back.
You know, I know Anthony probably, maybe can answer this, I think he probably can. As far as the revenue funds, how much are we down at the rec from what we was the previous year?
$500,000.
How much?
$500,000.
So,
They predicted that they would bring in $983,000, and it'll be under $500,000.
so that's 50% of their
Yes, sir.
revenues. How do you miss
What-
something that?
What about,
I mean-
what about year over year? They predicted 943. What did they actually do last fiscal versus current fiscal?
I don't have that number in front of me, but they've been, so COVID, once COVID hit, right, they took a couple years that just kind of went backwards for them, and they were slowly building back. We hit another pretty good hiccup this year, to where I think it's a couple $100,000 difference from the year before.
Yeah, that's my question.
Down to this year.
Because my question was, did we blow our projection Or what are we actually down?
I thought we were down more than that.
We may be a little, and I could, but listen, what they honestly are gonna do this year, we asked them to help us find memberships to the tune of another $200,000 over what they did this year in this budget. So we set them a pretty good goal, right? That's the only way it would work. But a lot of it in their defense now, I mean, you know, as a board, we made some decisions to actually spend some money, fix some stuff down there that hadn't been fixed in years. And that should all help us. We're in the middle of putting in new sand filters for the pools, pumps, actually redoing some of the outside. That was part of the $600,000 spend that we put in there last year. So we've got them some good momentum moving forward.
Well, you know, actually, you know, we discussed this before, was talking about getting set up. And you talked about, you know, we fulfill their needs, but not their wants. And really, we hadn't discussed that much about the payroll, but we did talk about the longevity payments.
So,
And because we had the two, one was what, 7, one was 10, that's 17%.
sir.
And then we're trying to correct to where everything has got so far out of whack this year.
yeah, and so what we did this year, like you said, the 2 previous years, we did a total of 17%, a 10 and a 7 across the board. And if you work at the city of Manchester, you get an annual type of valuation dollars until the 4th or 5th year, I believe that's right. And then, so if you're in the first 5 years of employment here, you're gonna see a raise. But what we did with the longevity is if you've been here 5 years, you get 50 cents.
Sure.
And then 10 years, another 50 cents, and it continues to climb. So if you've been here 20 years, you probably are gonna see a $2 an hour raise on your paycheck come July, right? So we took care of the years of all the stagnant growth, because the only thing they had going was a cost of living raise from the board. So we fixed all that, and I think it was $200,000.
187.
187 is what that cost us as a
I
city
remember Anthony speaking.
to fix the longevity. So, I mean, you know, let's take Chief Sipe, right? I mean, he's been here 40 years. I think we established that at the last one. So, you know, his base pay would go up $4 an hour, right? I mean, and that's good for years of service, right? I mean, so, and then I think next year.
I understand
Yeah.
it completely.
Yeah.
But, you know, the new employees out here feels like, well, we didn't get nothing, but they don't understand the 10 and the 7 and.
And where they get to start versus the guys in front of them.
Exactly.
And so what we've done, like I said, the budget that you have, there's $1 million surplus in it, okay? There's $1 million extra than what we intend to spend this year. And part of that is based on a land purchase that we've all know is probably going to happen. And if it don't, then the budget's flat. But if it does, then you get $1 million surplus. The fund balance will go up by $1 million.
And that's better than we've done in the last 6 years, because we've always had to borrow $1 million from the general
From
fund.
general fund.
So really, we're $2 million ahead.
And the other thing that I think we should know too is the insurance cost to the city went up 14.5%. The insurance committee has decided that they'll have the plan that they have today, which was a 70-30 plan. We were able to up that to 20-80. And we offered a lower plan that if you want to pay less deductible or less, deductible, you can pay more premium. Or there's another plan, if you want to pay more of a deductible, the premium is less. So we offered 2 extra plans, and we were able to engulf that 14.5%. So the employees of the city will not see an increase at all on their insurance. So that's also.
Big plus. It's a big plus.
Yeah, the city employee, the ones who choose the HSA, not only will they not see an increase, their premium price will go down.
Mhm.
So kind of winning on both sides of that.
So, I mean, I feel good that we were able to, as a city, keep that in-house, right, and not pass that on to the employee as a, I mean, at 14% is a pretty good number.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty good number. So, I think it was a cost to the city, and we're not gonna know until we figure out how everybody picks some plans, because there is some advantages, to the city based on a plan that's picked. But it could cost us $50,000 a year to keep that 14.5% from going to the employee.
I understand.
So,
But it's big to the employees also to have options, you know, which they didn't really have in the years before that I could see. I mean, having that option for you specifically in your family and what you need, I think that's huge.
But so far this year, Joey, we have pretty well fulfilled the spots that needed to be filled to catch everybody up in each department.
we have one opening left in the city right now. All other employment jobs have been filled.
That's good.
And it's a heavy equipment operator, and George and them guys are interviewing for that now. So, like I said, the work that we've put in the last few years is paying off. We're not seeing employees leave us over pay and different things. The longevity will help us retain people better than we have in the past.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, that brings up another point right here. As far as with the conference center, if the proposed budget passes and we take over, and that right there, of course, it will go to the Public Works Department on some of the maintenance on that end.
Yes. So
I mean-
finance right now, they're spending roughly, and I mean, don't quote me on every number, but about $25,000 a year in the finance. They're having to hire somebody. So that would come back into Anthony's department.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't want to add additional burden onto the Public Works Department without some kind of, you know, because it's going to take more time.
And George was part of it, and like I said, it'll be the mowing and different things, but,
Right.
yeah. Now, it's gonna add a little work to Anthony's department, but
Sounds like.
he told me he was prepared for it. Him and Kelly said, man, I got this, so I was excited for him.
With pleasure.
There it is.
Money to the chamber, do we make a contribution to the Chamber of Commerce?
We do. We make
Does that come out of the hotel tax?
No, we pay it out of general fund. We give them $10,000 a year as a donation.
Okay.
And now out of tourism, we also pay them to help them with our tourism effort. I think we pay them $27,000 a year out of that one. So the chamber,
And that comes out of the general fund.
the 27 comes out of tourism, the 10 comes out of the general fund.
Tourism being the hotel tax?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So that hotel tax in its entirety can only be spent on tourism?
Yes,
Is that state law?
yes.
So we're gonna
It's
have
very
to get
confusing,
creative.
doesn't it?
That's, we spend $1 million a year on tourism roughly.
So we're gonna have
So
to
we
be
haven't.
creative on how we do
Yeah,
it.
in the past, the way and we're gonna have to change a ordinance, but it says that, and I'll get the percentages wrong, but just bear with me. We give the parks, last year was $230-something thousand out of the hotel motel tax. We give a $350,000 donation to the PBA out of the general fund, and then tourism gets to spend $130,000. So they have a fund balance, but it's all set in how it goes, yes, sir.
And the rec center gets money out of the hotel tax?
It does,
Okay.
yes, sir.
So
on-
that's counted as being spent on tourism,
Well, they
which
bring-
I don't
yeah.
disagree with that. but-
Tournaments and different things at the parks, yes,
And
sir.
that's basically what, 27%?
It is.
Look, soon, I mean, when we change all this, we can call, if we put new lights up on the interstate, at the exits, that'll come out of that fund,
Yep.
because that's helping to increase tourism.
So,
So, I mean, we'll have to get a little
It's been, I know it's been
creative, but, yeah.
worked on for several years now, but
Yeah.
it needs to be repaired. It
Yeah.
needs to finally, you know.
2026, they're gonna fix the lights on the interstate. But George, we did put in some money in George's budget to make sure the bulbs are changed this coming year until.
Right, yeah, I remember that being discussed.
Did the chamber take any position on this, you know, the county commission's moratorium for 6 months? Did they, used to, I remember, I think I'm right, when I was a kid, at least the chamber would take a position about something they thought was not beneficial, but I don't hear anything out of the chamber. Maybe I missed it.
I'm not aware of that. I mean, you know, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, we sent a letter that we were asked to write. But I'm not sure that I heard anything from the chamber one way or another, no.
Well, I think it would be beneficial if they did, if they feel that way. I would be stunned if they didn't, but, you know, maybe they don't, but I think that's a missed opportunity. At one time, they had some influence, the chamber, like I said, maybe when I was a kid, and maybe it was the people that were involved, but don't hear much out of them. And that, to me, that's an important issue.
All right, we're right up against 5 o'clock here. Do we have any items that we need to add?
I don't.
I don't.
All right, well then, I guess, motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
I second it.
All right, 3-0 vote to adjourn. James, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
I think,
You know you're welcome to any of them. You know, James, you're welcome.